Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I think we have the majority of people on that have scheduled to join us today, but I'm going to just wait maybe 15 to 20 more seconds before we get going, just so that we can have a few of the last minute folks jump on board. All right, well, it's kind of crazy to be May 8th and having snow falling, but it's literally snowing like crazy out my window right now, and probably doing the same for many of you guys on the phone. Welcome again. My name's Tim Cerny. I'm the CEO here at Safety Net, and with me today is my colleague Brian Shearhart. Brian's one of our network engineers and is our specialist in Teams phones. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Excited to have everybody here. It's been a wild couple months for everybody in this during this pandemic and this work from home environment. It's challenged us in ways that I think prior to this, many of us questioned whether we were capable of, but it's amazing what we can do. And today's call and webinar is about Microsoft Teams and how that as a tool has helped us through this pandemic and this stay in place, stay at home mandate. Specifically, we're here to talk about Teams phones and the value that that's had for us in our business here at Safety Net. Before we get started, though, we've got I think we've got 20 or more people on the call. I just wanted to have a shout out to my good friend Tasso Chandra Nicholas, who's joining us from Calgary, Alberta. I saw Tasso was joining the webinar, and what's interesting about this, Tasso, is the last time I think you and I were chatting was in Calgary. You were showing me this new device called this BlackBerry and the ability to text message back and forth, and this new concept. And look at us now, it's just crazy. I haven't talked in such a long time. I'm glad you're on the call. So as we get going here, guys, let me give you just an agenda. We're trying to make this call no more than 30 minutes. We're all busy people. Certainly cannot cover all of Teams and Teams phones features in that time frame, but we hope to, within 15 to 20 minutes, tackle some of these features and benefits so that you can kind of see how it's worked for us. And then we'll open it up to Q&A. We had a couple questions in advance as well, so thank you for sending those in. But during the call, you have the ability to ask some questions. You can see here specifically on the GoToWebinar tool that you can add your questions, and my colleague Jenny Peoples, who's helping us administer the call today, will jump in to help us answer some or present those questions at the end of the call. So Teams, most of you are, I'm assuming, are familiar with the app, but if you're not, it's part of the Microsoft Office 365 suite of applications. You can find Teams on your computer in a few different places. Usually it's on a desktop app. You could also log into your Office 365 web account and see it there, as we've highlighted. And finally, you can get the app on your phone, and we're going to talk a lot about how Teams on your desktop or your laptop and your phone work and collaborate together. But what sort of sparked this? It wasn't just the pandemic that put in the stay in place, stay at home scenario that sparked us to have this webinar. What we're excited about here at Safety Net is the fact that finally Microsoft has put Teams in a position where it's affordable. For a long time, it was almost designed and focused in on the large enterprise accounts, but just in the last month, Microsoft has reduced the price of Teams and put it in a position where it's much more affordable now for small to mid-sized businesses, and that's one of the things that we wanted to share with you. This is a viable option. It's a viable phone system. It certainly has incredible features, and finally now is affordable for many of you and your businesses here on the phone today. But so let me just give you a brief overview of how we use Teams. Certainly, I'm going to have Brian talk about phones, but I'm going to share with you how we've gone about using Teams and the great features. Most of you probably know of the chat feature. And you can see here, we're on a little chat on Teams demos that we've been working on, some videos. Chat has done an incredible job of giving our email inboxes a big break. You know, those long back and forth conversations via email with internal colleagues has changed here at SafetyNet. That's focused exclusively in the chat area, and we leave the inbox to important messages, clients, you know, vendors, the types of things that you'd want there, so that you're not overwhelmed and just consumed with email. We love the calendar feature. It's actually, you know, how it syncs with Outlook. We find it to be even easier to use when scheduling meetings to identify whether people are busy or not. A terrific tool. And then, of course, the Teams channels. You can see here we've got this particular channel is what we called our COVID-19 collaboration channel. You know, for all of us, we've been in scenarios where we're you know, trying to communicate and with our team. There's so much uncertainty. It's changing all the time related to kind of what mandates are in place, whether we can go on site with clients, whether we can come to the office, what's the scenario here. We've worked hard at trying to push out as much information to our colleagues as we can, as quickly as we can, and this channel has allowed that to happen for us. People can go on there and ask questions. We'll be alerted to those questions. We can answer them. We can put files up into the channel that are specifically related to different things that are happening with clients, with our internal, a lot of great things. And you can see here the many channels that we have internally and how we work those to our benefit. And so that's a quick overview, not on Teams phones, but just on Teams in general. So now I'm going to turn it over, and I can't get this right, to my colleague Brian, who will dive into Teams phones more specifically and some of the value that we've gotten out of them here at SafetyNet.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. And we have gotten a tremendous amount of value from Teams phones. We actually were transitioning to it about 8 months ago, and we kind of ran in a hybrid system with our on-premise phone system for our primary call center functionality, just as we were transitioning, and that, you know, it's provided a good, it gave us enough experience to when this came around a couple months ago that it only took a couple hours, really, just a few configuration changes on our old phone system, and all of a sudden we're on Teams, and all of our people are getting the calls that they normally get, and it's really been a seamless transition. And you know, when you call us, you would expect the same service, and you wouldn't know that we're all, you know, necessarily in our home office if you had called us previously. So it's been a really nice system for us. So getting into, you know, Tim did cover a few of these other tabs here within Microsoft Teams, but I'll be primarily focusing on calls. And here you'll see, sorry, one second here, you'll see that within the calls tab, you have your options here, some ways to contact people internally. Here on your speed dial, you can set your speed dial up any way you want. I have the people I work with most right here up at the top, but then, you know, I have a lot of people on speed dial here. A lot of it fills in by default, but you can customize it any way you want into all the different groups that you see fit. You'll notice that anybody, wherever I click, when you see a person or a phone number or whatever, you'll have what options you have in terms of the type of call, an audio call or a video call. And so it's really easy. You don't have to remember anybody's phone number or, you know, have it written down anywhere and Post-its. You just, you know, just call the person.
Hey, Brian, I want to interrupt and show something that I think is awesome too. Can you go back to that last screen?
Yeah.
One of the things that we love most about Teams is the little status symbol next, or button next to everybody's name there. You can quickly see colleagues that are busy or in a meeting or available to communicate with. I'm sure many of you have enjoyed that as well, but that's, if you're not familiar with that, that is a terrific tool for us in understanding kind of what people are doing and if they're available to chat. And of course, it's syncing with Outlook.
Right, exactly. And the thing is, if Corey here's in a meeting, I could send him a quick chat, just say, hey, when you're done, please give me a call, or you have the option to do that, and he'll know that that's happening. So it's very very cool to see everybody's status. Here in the contacts tab, you have anybody that you would have in your Outlook contacts. So it does synchronize. So here's where you have your internal and external people. Still looking, you've got phone numbers, you've got all the options here. I mean, whatever type of contact they are, you can see the options on how you can reach out to them. And it's nice to be able to, again, just click a button. And from here, actually, even though the phone number's here, I could just click this tab. It's going to dial this external user right away. So that's a very helpful feature. Within the history tab, is a lot of times you're going to get called, maybe blind called from somebody that you don't know who they are, but you know you need to reach them back. Well, the phone number is listed right here. You just find this person, double click it, and you're calling them back right away. So that's a very quick turnaround
Brian,
time.
I also like the 3 buttons on the right side of those calls. You know, the options that gives you, including add to contacts.
Right.
You know, for new calls that come in that you're wanting to add quickly to your Outlook contact list.
Right. Yeah. Especially when you realize you need to call them back. That's when you need to. Oh, yeah, I better save this person for later. So definitely makes it a lot easier to keep in touch with those people. And then voicemail, I'll reach out to that in a little bit here, but another way to call someone directly would be up here at the top. You have all kinds of different options or commands you can enter, but to call somebody, you just /call, hit enter, and then you can start searching for the internal person. If you have a large directory of people, this might be the easiest way to do it. And so I will actually give Jenny a quick call just to show how this works. Oh, except I did it wrong. I'm sorry here. 1 second. But all right, so 1 moment here. /call Jenny. So she's going to pick up. You won't be able to hear me, so Tim could walk through. I'm going to actually transfer this call.
Yeah, what we love about this is certainly it has a lot of different options, including call transferring and consult and transfer. I'll give you a story just happened the other day. I was actually on a call. It was an internal meeting that I was running, and a customer called into our main line, not to my direct line because I would have seen that on my computer ringing. But they called into our main line. It was received by one of our administrative assistants. She saw that I was on a call, so sent me a quick chat. Said, "Tim, this customer is on the line. Would you like to speak to them?" I said yes. I hung up the call. The client call came in, and the conversation was seamless. No one knew that we were all working in multiple locations across, different homes, and we love that feature in Teams, the ability to easily transfer calls and consult before transferring.
So while that didn't quite work, it's possible. The one thing about Teams is that if you happen to be in Do Not Disturb, which she may or may not be, then it will not disturb you. So that could be the option. We were playing around with that before, and that could be the issue. But yeah, exactly. Tim's situation is right where you can easily transfer calls or announce the call ahead of time, and that's a very convenient feature. So okay, I'm going to give Tom a quick call. So we'll get this going here.
Why don't you show them how to find Tom just simply in your contacts there instead of I mean, it's just so easy.
It is. So there we go. In the contacts, I just did a quick search, and I will give him a quick call. Now again, you won't hear me when he picks up, but maybe I will actually. He'll hang up, and then I will ask him to give me a quick call because we want to see how we receive calls in Teams as well. So while I'm waiting for him to call, depending on how quickly he does, you have a keypad here for external calling, so you can enter in a phone number any which way, just typing it in on your keyboard to this keypad, or you can copy and paste a phone number from an email or from a website, and that makes it really easy. Just area code and phone number, no numbers to dial out to get an outside line. So it's really easy to integrate your external calling to your clients or receive internal calling. So Tom's calling me, and you'll see that actually it's coming in on my phone as well. I'm going to answer it here. And if we do a video call, we can see Tom right there on my cell phone.
Hello, Brian.
Hello,
I can hear
Tom.
that.
So,
How are
doing well. So
Right.
we're here on our webinar, and I'm going to actually, I'm going to do a quick park on the call. You can actually park the call on your cell phone. It'll give me a code on which to enter, and then I can come back to here, and you've got a tab here that says parked calls. So I'm going to go here, enter in the code, make sure I got it right, and I can pick up the call. And he should be popping up here any second. And there he is. And I can't use my camera probably, but yeah, there he is. Hi, Tom.
That's great. And let me just share with you how we've seen that work. How from a business perspective, you're not missing calls. What Brian showed you there is one of my favorite features of the Teams phone system, and that is that it's not just ringing to your desktop. You know, if I walk out of this office and go make a sandwich for lunch and a client calls, and I have my cell phone, it will ring on my computer and it will ring on the Teams phone app here on my phone. And what I love about that is I'm not missing a call. So if you're in your car running to a meeting and somebody calls your direct line in your office, it's ringing to your phone as well. You can even answer it in your car and your speaker system. It's seamless, and I love that I love that. In addition to that, park feature was terrific. There was a scenario where I received a call driving into our parking lot. Had a quick conversation. I said, "Can I put you on hold?" Walked up to the office, sat down on the computer, turned on the phone, put my headset down, and it went forward seamlessly.
Exactly.
Really smooth stuff.
So, but if you happen to miss your call, Microsoft Teams has a very robust voicemail system. And you'll see on your voicemail tab, not only do we have a voicemail here, and you can actually play the audio of it, but Microsoft will transcribe the voicemail for you, and it actually does a very accurate job. There every now and then you see something like any automated transcription system, but I've seen very few errors, which is quite amazing. But you can play the audio of it. You can skim the transcription. So if you're seeing it and Microsoft is called, I've got to look at this and actually pay attention to this. However, if you're not at your desk and you're outside playing with the kid or the dog or doing whatever, and you have your phone, your mobile phone with you, you'll be sent an email. It will send you an email with the actual audio attached to it in MP3 format with the transcription here. So if you were to not have Teams on your mobile device, which I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you didn't, you still have the option to see any of your missed calls. And then okay, I better get back to my desk and call this person back. So it's the exact same information in all of those locations. So
I always like pointing out the fact that you also have the option to speed up the speed at which you consume the voicemail. I'm a 1.5x voicemail speed guy. I just don't like listening to it that long.
Exactly. And that's actually also pretty cool from the voicemail tab here. It's very easy to use. Click your ellipsis on the side and you can call people back, or I could add this person to contacts or add them to speed dial or do whatever we need to do. Or mark it as unread, so you can make sure you go back to it before, or go back to it as if it's new. So,
Brian, one of the things I think from a business perspective, people are thinking about is how do you set up Teams, auto attendance, and different capabilities like that? Does it have the same sort of features and functions as a traditional phone system? Maybe you can dive into that part of Teams.
Yeah, it really does. It's really as robust as any on-premise phone system that you would see. The one benefit again is that we were able to duplicate everything in our old phone system, have the same call queues, have all of that, but it actually allowed us to do more because you can set your after hours call queue. What happens, after 5 o'clock? Well, we have options to be able to go to our on-call person or to another voicemail, or if we're in an all-staff meeting. I mean, you can do pretty much anything. You set up your emergency policy so that everyone's working from home. You call 911, they want to know where you're at. You can set up your home address in here, and features are just coming, as we move on here. to where they'll make it eventually they'll make it easier to select where your emergency contact should be. But auto attendance, everything. The cool thing about it also is that you can designate someone. You don't have to wait on a third party to make changes for you. If you were to designate an admin as a Teams admin to be able to come in and, I want to adjust, like these are all of our call queues. When you call our auto attendant, it's going to one of these queues. And, let's say, Jenny's a part of a call queue that she doesn't need to be a part of anymore. I can go in here and edit the number of people, or, the people who are a part of it, so that, she's not getting those calls, or we can add people who need to get those calls. But it can be you doing it rather than third party supplier who's helping you with that.
I know I've had some phone systems that have been totally frustrating, and the tools to make changes and or require a phone call and a scheduled appointment to make those changes. What we loved about Teams was how easy and simple that was. And I'll just sort of wrap things up by saying, as we're getting closer to the end here, if you have any questions, throw them in our little chat window. We'd be happy to tackle them. We do have everybody on mute, so that's going to be the best way to do that. But what I want to tell you a story, because I'm pointing at my headset. One of the questions we had coming in ahead of time was hardware. So can I use my traditional phone, my tactile phone to pick up with Teams? How does that work? The answer is yes. You can absolutely do that. In fact, when I joined SafetyNet, they asked me, do you want a headset, do you want a phone, or do you want both? And I said, well, I need a phone. I'll try the headset. And so on my desk was this traditional phone, fairly large, and then this little thing. In the first 3 months, I probably used the phone twice and then said, I don't need it. I don't know, Brian, is there anybody at SafetyNet that uses the handset anymore?
No, we, especially our front desk people, they were trying them for a little while, but we probably bought 4 or 5 phones. They're all in the garage. We're just not being used, and in part just the desk space it takes. People. Desk
space and ease. Yeah. I tell you, what I also love from a business perspective is how the affordability. The cost of this earpiece and different headsets that you can get are a lot less expensive than the traditional phone systems. So you're saving money in the hardware. And what we've recognized is that the kinds of companies or the types of businesses that really Teams phones is best for are looking for that. They're not going to be the organizations that need to have large amounts of traditional phones laying around. It's really going to fit and suit a company who values technology, who is interested in streamlining things, who is open to some of the newer concepts and ways to use headphones and headsets, because once you give it a try, it's just an amazingly easy way to receive and send phone calls.
Exactly.
So on that note, let's see, Jenny, do we have any questions?
We do. We actually had one great question come in about licensing. The person wants to know, if you already have Office 365, do you automatically have access to Teams phones?
Well, as far as some enterprise licensing does include Teams phone license, but most of the licensing does require an additional phone license, and so that would be the answer to that. Now, that's primarily for external calling. Actually, Teams could potentially work internally, without the additional license. To a certain extent, you should be able to actually plug in options, to try it. But to get all the features, you would need the phone licensing.
Yeah, and again, at the beginning of the call, I mentioned one of the reasons we thought this would be important is to let you know that the price has come down from Microsoft to make this a little bit more affordable. There are most likely the majority of the people on the call or those working in small to mid-sized businesses don't have the Microsoft Office 365 licenses to make Teams phones work now, and would have to add those on. But the best part about it is that they are much more affordable and comparable to some of the current and more traditional phone systems and services companies that are selling those systems.
I think I'd like to chime in real quick. I think that there was a question ahead of time also about conferencing, and while we didn't specifically demo it, conferencing is a feature that's well utilized by us. We use it all the time, but it does. Some of the conference licenses are included in some of the conference license is included in some of the licensing, but if you don't have that available within your existing subscription, it's a very inexpensive license to add it, to be able to have an external number for people to call in, and it's easy to set up conference calling, very easy through the app to be able to do that, both externally and internally. So.
And when we were using our conference room, we haven't been in there in a while. We have a Teams phone, Polycom type conferencing speaker phone. It's labeled as our conference room 1. It's invited to the meetings, and it allows. It does an incredible job of capturing the voices. It allows us to collaborate together and have people call in. It works really well.
Exactly.
Okay, great. We have another question here. The question is, what is the cost, and is it per person, or are there different levels?
I know that the cost has come down significantly. It just depends on your existing licensing, and everything is all built together. But in general, I believe we're looking at. I would have to actually double check that. I want to make sure. I don't want to make this a quote session, but it is by the user, and then again, it's all tied in with your existing Office 365 licensing. So.
Yeah. If you're looking, I would say, we didn't anticipate diving into pricing on the call today, but if you're looking for more information on pricing, I would just encourage you to connect with us after the call. I'll say this a couple times, a great way, and many of you have current contacts within our organization, but if you don't, if you just went at info@safetynet.com, or on our website, there's a contact us form. Just contact us, and we'll get back with you. And
I do know that we've been comparing to existing for a couple demos. We've compared with a couple customers' existing setup, and before all of this happened, the pricing made it where it wasn't necessarily an appealing option. But again, Microsoft has come down quite a bit, and so now it's a lot more appealing to different organizations. So I can say that much.
All right, and the next question is, why not use Microsoft Teams today? And I think, Tim, you read an article about using Teams versus GoToWebinar for these sorts of events.
That's a great question, actually. Yeah. Well, one of the things that there's two answers to that. The first answer is we've discovered that to do a webinar and to make phone calls in this demo within the same app is impossible. So doing having in this webinar format, we had to go with a different tool to essentially dive into Teams and make those calls. That was the second thing. A couple of the other things I think that in this whole new world that we have of video conferencing, everybody now is familiar with a company prior to this that they weren't, called Zoom. Everybody knows Zoom. There's plenty of other, from GoToMeeting and WebEx and different tools out there. We all know that the multiple screen feature is nice. Some of you may be familiar that Teams currently only kind of cubes up on the screen 4. They're very quickly about to release that to go to 9 cubes per screen, and I don't know where they'll go from there, if they're going to end up kind of in the same scenario, but some of those features are changing pretty quickly too.
Yep.
Okay, it looks like that is the last question that we have, unless anyone wants to sneak one in at the deadline here.
All right, well then on that note, and impeccable timing, it's 11:30, so 30 minutes. I want to thank you all for joining today. I hope you got some value out of it. Again, we've found significant value here at SafetyNet in utilizing Teams phones. I love the fact that I'm not having to lean on my cell phone or send my cell phone number out to everybody that they've got my direct office line and they call that and it comes right to me. I hope you if you're in the position where you're looking at different phone systems and want some additional information, let me know. Let us know. You can do that at info@safetynetinc.com. Or you can, if you just want some more information, because we just tackled the real high level of this phone stuff, you can go to this particular website. We've done some deep dives and some demo videos, both on Teams from the chat, calendar, and channels perspective. And then the second one was a deep dive, and Brian did a terrific job with a couple of our other colleagues on Teams phones, and it gets into much deeper detail on the features and functions and capabilities of the phone system. But on that note, you guys, thanks again. Have a wonderful day. Take care and be safe. Stay healthy.